Hello, hello, hello. Holla, City Squala.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah,
All
you
right.
mind? I'm gonna do the intro here. Ready? Welcome in everybody to Fan2Fan Detroit. I am Andrew Norris, and with me, as always, is Double B producer Parker. Parker, how you doing?
Water.
Hey, I got a trivia question for you. Minnesota United played in the Western Conference MLS Finals. What is their team name?
Minnesota United.
Nope, but there's like a thing like the Detroit Lions. There's a Lions for
They
Minnesota
are
United.
the Groundhogs.
They are the loons, like the bird.
The Minnesota United Loons.
Yeah. Well, you
Well,
either call them the loons or you call them Minnesota United.
what do you think? How do you think that room was? Like when they were deciding, do you think everybody was sitting in a room and like nobody could figure it out, and then all of a sudden the door swung open, some dude threw down a stack of papers and he was like, "It's the Loons," and everybody.
People love birds. Can I tell you something? People love birds.
I don't think the guy even had to sell it. I think everybody in that room was like, "Where were you this whole fucking time, dude?"
You're getting promoted.
And now he's the general manager of the Loons. It's been a crazy ride.
I'd be a good hire, honestly. They're doing really well. They are overachieving as much as any team in the country is overachieving. But let's get into the show part of the show, the part that people care about.
Okay.
We're gonna do some Lions talk, or we're gonna do some NFL talk, and then we're gonna kind of do a preview, I guess you might want to call it, for our big giant NBA bash that we're gonna do next week. The Predictys, the 53rd annual Predictys. Andrew and I are gonna host those. But to start, we're gonna go over some free agent deals in the NBA. So where do you want to? Do you want to start with the Lions, Andrew? You want to give me your thoughts on that barely win today?
Yeah, let's start with some Lions because we're kind of in this week. I think was almost like the post-credits scene to the Matt Patricia era. And what I mean by that, or at least it's like the first 75% of a post-credit scene. Because what I mean by that is we get the little like 10, 15 seconds of everything being good. The sun is shining. There is no villain to compete with. Nobody's trying to end the world. And we get this lousy Chicago Bears team. We get to watch Stafford go a little retro Stafford for a minute. All of a sudden, this play calling is completely different. They're just airing the ball out. Stafford had 4 more average yards of air carry per throw today than he's had for the rest of the season. And it's going to end with the next couple weeks, which is the rest of the post-credit scene where you go, oh, shit, there's still a bad guy. Some bomb just went off. Somebody's getting their ass kicked because we got the Packers, the Titans, and the Buccaneers coming up the next 3 weeks. So let's enjoy it now. It was a fun week. Good for Darrell Bevel. But it's going to get bad again, everybody. The next 3 weeks are going to be miserable.
I like where your head's at with the like, let's enjoy this win now while we can. I totally agree. A win is a win, even when it's exclusively caused by the troubled Mitch Trubisky playing quarterback still in the NFL somehow. But I'm surprised to hear you say that you really felt like the play calling was drastically different. I didn't feel that way. I felt like there was a lot of Adrian Peterson, especially in the first half. A lot of run, pass still. Now, whether those passes were different, I mean, maybe I just didn't notice, but I didn't see anything that was like totally crazy, like blew my mind from the scheme change today.
Couple of things about that. One, I don't think there was anywhere near as much run pass. There was still a lot of Adrian Peterson, but I don't think there was. I don't know if there was not a lot of times. I don't know how I want to say this, but there was very few times I felt like we're on first and second down. They ran the ball up the middle. Stafford went over 400 yards, which I believe is the first time he's done that this season. So I think it just was kind of, I feel like Matt Patricia probably brought that bend but don't break philosophy over to the offense at least a little bit after watching this week because they were getting creative. They were just saying, hey, we got a gunslinger. We have a big arm guy. We got a guy who can chuck it 50 yards, as we saw on that beautiful throw to Quintez Cephas in the corner of the end zone. But just all day, man, he was just slinging it. He had the one bad interception to a D lineman, like his third pick to a D lineman this year, which is a little crazy. But other than that, Stafford had a hell of a day. Tiny inconsistencies that we've been seeing throughout this year were still there, but it was still awesome. I was really impressed with Bevel. Obviously on the offensive side, the defense pretty much looked the same, but it's going to take more than a week to fix. We knew that. If it's fixed at all this season, I'll be surprised. I mean, they have no fundamentals. They don't look like an NFL defense ever.
Yeah, that defense is an offense against God, and that's the way it's been all season. It's an apocalypse.
And it's still Patricia's best friend, like running that defense in Corey Undlin. So
I'm shocked at just like how much it feels like they kind of forgot how to tackle. There were a couple of weeks where they looked super physical and like they figured some things out, and then they like 2 weeks later, none of that's still there. And it seems like they're actually getting further and further away from that, which is very strange to see a defense kind of actively get worse over the course of a season, especially a season like this one. But this was something that you pointed out last week, that like, why not just go for it? Why not just throw the ball deep? If you lose, who cares? Make some plays, see what Quintez Cephas is worth. Mohamed Sanu, very active today. I forgot that they had him.
I have no idea how that dude, first of all, wasn't on a roster until 2 weeks ago. And second of all, that we only signed him to a practice squad contract. He looks like Mohamed Sanu running around.
Yeah, right?
Like, he looks like the same dude he looked like 3-4 years ago. I know it's been a rough year and a half, 2 years for him, but that dude is an NFL wide receiver easily. And I hope it's a guy who's back on this roster next year, whether it's a new, young, shiny toy of a quarterback or Matthew Stafford. I hope a guy like Sanu, who can run routes, who can be at least semi-consistent, who can catch the ball, not a ton of drops. I hope he's on the roster. But if we are looking, let's start with the positives on offense. First of all, Thomas James Hockenson is a top 5 tight end in football, period, point blank. 7 grabs today, getting up there close to 100 yards. Just so damn good. And not on like all easy, wide open plays either. He's diving, he's falling while he's making these catches. He's getting hit, but those hands are just nasty. The dude just knows how to catch the football. He knows how to run routes. He knows how to block. He knows how to do it all at that position. It's only year 2. He's only going to get better for the next couple of years. So don't be shocked. I feel very strongly about this. Don't be shocked when he's on that Travis Kelce level of player. That is for sure within reach now. I'm not saying it's a lock that it's going to happen, but he can 100% be that level of tight end. He can compete for the best tight end in football in the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it always is worth mentioning with Thomas James Hockenson that his blocking is superb and has been great all year.
Yeah, they could probably use him a little bit more in that aspect, but whatever. Whatever they're doing with him is working, so I'm not going to complain about it too much.
Here's a backdoor positive. The Lions didn't have DeAndre Swift or Kenny Golladay today still, and they still put 34 points up on a top 10 defense in the NFL. That's not nothing. That's not nothing.
It's not nothing. You're right. You are 100% right. And then if we're flipping to the other side of the ball, there was pressure on the quarterback today. It wasn't consistent, and it wasn't there the whole time. But when you needed it, it was there. There was a huge sack from Everson Griffin for us to get the ball back. Romeo Okwara almost had a sack on 3rd down, made Trubisky throw the ball away. And then, of course, there's that strip sack that gave us the ball on, the 6-yard line that won us the game.
Yeah,
it saved Stafford having to do Stafford things and go 60 yards in a minute and a half. He just got to do it. And then, of course, they had to scare the shit out of all of us and make us think it was over. But Allen Robinson goes out of bounds 1 yard before the sticks. So they got it 4th and 1, and they can't get anything on the next play. So all in all, it was a good, fun game. It was the first time I've enjoyed watching a Lions game since like week 4 or 5, probably, maybe this whole season. So
if we don't get Marvin Jones back, if he doesn't re-sign with us, whoever signs him is going to be, I think, very happy with what they purchase. He's been really good. I mean, he's just been solid. I don't think he's a true number 1, but filling in, he's doing fine. He's doing okay.
I'm curious what it'll take, because coming into the season and most of the season, I've thought there's no way Marv is back. But Kenny goes down, and Marv just kind of turns back into the Marv we saw a couple years ago before Kenny turned into a star. and that's like 5, 6, 7 grabs, 80, 90, 100 plus yards, and 6 to 10 touchdowns throughout the year, which isn't elite, but it's really damn good. Like it's top-notch production for a guy, even on the contract we have him on now, which I don't think he'll get that same money. I think he'll probably be like $7-8 million a year. And I'd probably pay for that for 2 years if you're keeping Stafford. I don't know if I would if you're drafting a new quarterback, because you're going to probably have to pay Kenny, and that's going to be expensive. But
you have to pay Kenny. Got to pay him.
You do.
And, but I don't know if I think Kenny resigns if Stafford's not here.
I think it's all about the money.
Okay.
If you're playing football and it's not all about the money, you're a goofball. That's the only way to put it. That's the only thing you should care about. You never know when your career will be over. Could be the next play. I mean, this is a wasted season for Kenny Golladay, and none of the injuries he's had are big, huge injuries. It's just football shit that's happened to him. So you never know when you're going to take a step and your knee's going to turn the wrong way. So go get that money. I think we'll end up paying him regardless of what we do. Stafford's contract has fallen back to average. Obviously you need wide receiver help in this upcoming offense with Amendola and Marvin Jones. And obviously now after we cut him, no more Marvin Hall. And you still really don't know what Quintez Cephas is going to be, even though it looks like he can contribute at least, I think.
Agnew.
Yeah, I guess.
He was a couple plays a game.
He was the start of this game. That was the script Bevel came out with, was let's get Agnew the ball 5 times on this first drive, and it almost worked. I think he had 40 yards on that first drive. So, here's a question after this game. Are we going to have to add the Bears to that list of teams searching for a head coach after the season?
Bears fans think so. Bears fans do not like Matt Nagy. And more than anything, like, the Bears don't have a quarterback. And that's
he's an offensive coach, though.
Everything. Yeah, but Mitch Trubisky is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, right? Maybe the 31st best starting quarterback in the NFL.
Like 25. There's still Daniel Jones's and Sam Darnold's. And, I mean, Sam Darnold threw his first touchdown since week 3 today.
Well, he's missed a lot of weeks. He's missed some weeks, but I would rather have Sam Darnold than Mitch Trubisky, and that's crazy if you would rather have Mitch Trubisky.
Sam Darnold has 3 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
I don't fault anybody in the Jets. That whole thing is a shed that's on fire. Darnold got screwed. If you put Darnold, for the 49ers, I think he'd be at least as good as Nick Mullins.
Why? What has shown you that except for the first game he ever played?
He throws some good balls every once in a while. I see some ones that I like. I don't know who's he throwing to. But if we're talking about throwing good balls, like Mitch Trubisky's out of his hand, it looks like as good as anybody. Like, it's always on a line, it zips, it's a tight spiral. He's got Jamison Crowder, he's got Denzel Mims. Like, these guys aren't nobodies. Jamison Crowder's been a beast for 2 years. He had Le'Veon Bell in his backfield. I know the offensive line sucks, but like Ty Johnson ran for 104 yards behind that offensive line today. Yeah, former Detroit Lion, shitty ass Ty Johnson, 104 yards. I mean, Le'Veon got cut, went to Kansas City, got benched, is going to get cut. So I don't know if that means a whole lot to me anymore.
But he's not better than Mitch.
You know what Mitch Trubisky is. You know,
and I
there's
know
a
what Sam Darnold is. He's can't throw a touchdown. He throws a touchdown in half of his games. Taysom Hill almost threw as many touchdowns today as Sam Darnold has all season.
So you're arguing that
your guys against you.
Yeah, right. My guys. So you're arguing that it's not Adam Gase's hyperdrive offense. You're saying the offense is in hyperdrive, but he's like a busted flux capacitor?
No, just because one sucks doesn't mean the other doesn't.
That whole thing is a tear down, right? The whole thing is.
Well, it's torn down. I mean, they're over 12.
Well, okay. So they've got like the frame of the house built. They have like some wood, some loose lumber.
Oh no, the debris is still sitting there. Like, it's torn down, but it's just a pile of debris.
Josh Rosen has had like 3 or 4 chances, and now we know that he's not good enough. Sam Darnold deserves a second chance on a team that's not this all-time bad Jets team. They're historically bad. They might be worse than the 0-16 Lions.
No, I'm going to disagree with that. This team's at least been in some games. Like they almost.
I don't
won
remember.
today.
I don't have all of the 0-16 Lions games.
Did you happen to catch the end of this game?
Yeah.
The Jets I mean, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. And then all of a sudden, Derek Carr has 40 seconds, no timeouts, and throws a 60-yard bomb. One play after missing a 60-yard bomb to another open wide receiver. I mean, it felt like it was – I mean, I think that was the nail in the coffin, right? 4 games left. There's no way you can come back. Yeah, that's your chance to win. This.
Yeah, that was your chance.
Like, imagine how bad it's going to be next week. I don't even know who the Jets play. Let's see. They play the Seahawks. The Jets are going to be in practice all week. Like, why am I here? Like, I could get COVID being here. What is the point of me being here for this? And it was funny to watch. I was rooting for them. I was rooting for them to win and Jacksonville to lose because I really want that Trevor Lawrence intrigue. I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence in New York, but I still want the intrigue.
Who would you rather coach? The Jets with Trevor Lawrence or the Chargers with Justin Herbert? It seems like the Jets Chargers are going to fire the coach. Really?
Yeah.
I'd rather coach Herbert. You know he's good. There's less work to do on the rest of the team.
Yeah, but I don't know if Herbert is generational. I know he's going to be good. Trevor Lawrence has been like a generational type talent since he was 15, and he's on that LeBron path right now where he's just never disappointed. He's never gone beneath those expectations. Every time he's in the game, it's money.
I hesitate to put him on the LeBron path.
Well, you know what I mean, though. I'm not saying he's LeBron James, but he's the biggest quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. We still know Herbert is a little bit inaccurate, a little bit wild, is going to throw a lot of interceptions, especially when teams start getting used to him. He also has like a really good, not great, but good offense around him. So I get why you would want the Chargers job. It might be easier, but once you reach the pinnacle with Trevor Lawrence and the Jets, you got to remember anything in New York, the second you get close to being there, you're there because people want to be there with you. Mm-hmm. And I put this more on Gase than I do the Jets franchise. So I don't think it's as bad as it seems.
It's a whole thing since it started, man. Letting that guy draft and then firing him, that old GM, and letting him spend a bunch of money on Le'Veon Bell and then firing him, that's just there's no other word than mismanagement. That's mismanagement.
Yeah, for sure. And they got the Seahawks, Rams, Browns, and Patriots to finish the season.
I mean,
0-16, lock it in.
Yeah. Is Joe Judge a really good NFL coach?
I think so.
Seems like it.
I don't know if we can know yet, but I mean, this New York team is just competitive as hell. They beat the Seahawks today, which is unbelievable. And they have Colt McCoy as their fucking quarterback. I believe the winningest D1 college football quarterback of all time. It's either him or he's second to Kellen Moore. I can't remember. But I mean, goes for 105 yards today, and they beat the Seahawks. So a wide receivers coach. A wide receivers coach.
I thought he was a special teams coach.
I'm pretty sure he was a wide receivers coach.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they're 5-7, dude.
They could win the division.
Saquon Barkley.
I think they're in first, right?
Now?
Yeah, they have to be.
Yeah, sure are. Half a game above the Washington Football Club, who get the Steelers tomorrow. By the way, did you see Herbert today? 26 of 53, 209, 2 picks, lost 45-0 to the Patriots.
Not really. I kind of, when I was watching Red Zone, they kind of just stopped it at a certain point. So I wasn't really interested in seeking it out either.
Cam had 69 yards. The Patriots scored 45 points.
Super weird. How many rushing yards did he have?
Only Cam had 48. They had 165 as a team. They had 3 offensive touchdowns.
Wild.
3 offensive touchdowns. 2 defensive touchdowns. There you go. And a return touchdown. Boy, that's a Patriots fucking game right there. I guess, realistically, they could sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, fucking Patriot fans they're throwing up their lunch 3 weeks ago, and now it looks like their team might make the playoffs.
If they
That's
add the
so
extra
stupid. I'm
team, they're a
so
game out.
unexcited for that.
If they add the extra team, they're a game out. I'm okay with it only because I want to see Cam Newton make the playoffs.
I guess I don't know if I think that he's played well enough to make the playoffs. Quite frankly,
You make the playoffs. You played well enough to make the playoffs.
yeah, I don't think Cam Newton has been that great after the first couple of weeks weeks of football. Excuse me.
I think I want the Browns to win the Super Bowl.
That would be like your favorite, like the most feel good pick for you.
Yeah.
Mine
But it would
be,
also leave us alone in the dirt of depression as Lions fans. So
no, there's still the Jets, and technically the football club until they actually do something about something.
use your words. You can do it.
I forgot what I was gonna say. I had something though.
All right, are you ready to say it then? Are you ready to say the Steelers are going undefeated?
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. I think my feel-good Super Bowl champion would be the Ravens sneaking in the very last playoff spot and everybody counting them out, and then they rip it off a huge run.
You want to talk about not deserving it? How about the team with the most talent in football maybe not making the playoffs?
I don't know. I don't have a diagnosis for that, but I agree that there's something weird with that.
But again, they're going to need that extra playoff spot. I mean, they are a game and a half behind the Colts right now.
Yeah.
And
Whatever.
The Colts don't exactly play in the toughest division. They got Raiders, Texans, Steelers, Jags left. That sounds like 3-1 to me.
Yeah, I agree. And the Colts have been pretty good all year, so that would be 11-5 for the Colts to finish out at.
Give me your top 5 Super Bowl power rankings.
Top
most likely
5
to win.
Super Bowl power rankings. This is the top 5 Super Bowl power rankings. 1 is the Chiefs. That's an obvious one. 2 is the Steelers. That's also an obvious one. 3 is the Saints. They get Drew Brees back, and he's good to go for the playoffs. 4 is going to be the Buccaneers because they're the closest thing to the pedigree team for a championship because they have Tom Brady. And 5 might be the Rams if they can put something together for more than 2 weeks.
Oh, I put Buffalo, Green Bay.
Oh, Green Bay. No, let me change to Green
Seattle.
Bay. Green Bay. I like that for 5.
Okay. the
Seattle
only
is
one I don't
not.
agree with
Seattle is
Tampa.
the wheels are kind of coming off in Seattle. They need to finish strong.
Yeah, but even them on a bad day is not. It's way better than the Rams on a bad day. and
Are you
them on a
sure?
good
Because they
day.
just lost to the Giants on a bad day.
Yeah, the Rams have had some ugly losses this year.
I agree
Let's
that
not
the
get
Rams
twisted.
are. Yeah, there's like that whole cluster of teams in the NFC. The Cardinals are right there too. They're the most inconsistent, where they're great or they're terrible, and they can't fit multiple weeks together. Colts are a little like that too.
Yeah, so the only team I would for sure take out is the Buccaneers, and I'd put the Bills in there. The Bucks just have no consistency whatsoever. They haven't won close games. If they win, it's a blowout, and that's just not going to happen in the NFL playoffs, I don't think. Do you think they're going to do the playoffs in a bubble?
I don't even know if you can do that. That's like a big city, a bubble of football teams, and the people
it's
needed to operate that.
14 teams
That's
for 4
What's-
weeks.
so. What's like
It's
100
like
times 14?
700 players. You need like 2,000 people, probably. Maybe.
There's 52. Let me bust out the calculator here. Here's what we're gonna get high tech with it. Ready for this?
You need 1,700. Wait, maybe it's more like
Okay, ready?
1,600 players. Yeah, let's
So-
see what you got.
So 52. Ugh, my keyboard's all wet. Sorry.
Times. No, I got it right.
spit
It's
on
like
my
700 players. It's like 728 players. Bitch.
Yeah. So and then how many coaches you figure? 5.
5 per team. We'll say 7 per team.
So 7 per team.
7 times 14. Here, I'll write it down. So I got the 728. 7 per team. So 7 times 14. That's going to be 96.
98.
Sorry, that's going to be 98. We got, we'll say, 6 training staff members per team.
So 6 times 14 is 84. Who else gets into the bubble? Referees? How many referees are we gonna need? A dozen?
Yeah, maybe we'll say 15 to be safe.
Okay, 15.
15 referees.
How many? So where are we gonna put it?
Disney World. Why the fuck not?
Okay, so how many like people are gonna have to be? Oh, how many reporters? NFL reporters, probably 30.
We're not worried about that. They'll put as many as they need to for that. So
Okay.
the only other, I mean, the rest is going to be staff at wherever they're at. So
Okay. So doesn't staff have to be in the? Some of the staff have to be in the bubble.
we're gonna say 2,200 people total because this equation isn't going to work out because we don't know what the other numbers would be. 2,200 is probably pretty close. I wonder how many people were there.
Man, I mean, can you do that? That's a pretty good sized city you got there, and that's
you
not
do two
including.
bubbles. You do one for the AFC and one for the NFC.
Okay.
Like,
man, that's a whole other thing. How are you going to get the people who test positive into the bubble? They're going to miss 2 weeks. They have to.
They're going to have to miss 2 weeks anyways.
So you're going to be playing without those guys for 2 weeks, guaranteed.
Yeah, but you're going to be playing without those guys for 2 weeks anyways if they have COVID, whether you're in a bubble or you're not.
I think it's different. Now we're wandering into an area where I feel a little uninformed, but I think that it's different when you test positive versus trying to get into a bubble. I think if you just test negative once or twice, even if that happens in a week or 10 days when you test positive, that you're cleared to go. But I think if you're going to go into the bubble, you need to do like the cleanse the way they did with the NBA.
Take the 2 weeks off between the last game of the regular season and the playoffs, and don't do a Pro Bowl week. You're not going to anyways, so it's really only one extra week.
Yeah, maybe. It's going to be hard as hell.
What are they going to do when Patty Mahomes gets COVID 3 days before the Super Bowl because they didn't want to put it in a bubble?
Well, Super Bowl, I think the Super Bowl will be in a bubble. I think they'll have to. They won't be able to not.
Well, I mean, what? You just hope that nobody going into that bubble has COVID, or are you going to take the 2 weeks off again? So, I mean, why not just start there? True. All right, let's move on from football.
Yeah, let's move on from football.
All right, so what I want to do next is go over. I found an article on NBA.com. Let's see who it was written by. Sean Powell of NBA.com.
Thank you, Sean Powell.
Who's got the top 20 either free agent re-signings, signings, offseason moves, whatever it may be, all ranked. And me and you, Double P producer Parker, are going to give them a letter grade. Mm-hmm. And, just a little, hey, I think this is a good move because I said so type thing. We're going to go with it. So we're going to start at the bottom. And I'm going to ask you to go first on this one.
Okay.
Goran Dragic, or as my former usher at the Palace when I had season tickets called him, Goran Drajak, stays with the Heat.
Yeah, so it's like 2 years, $36 million, I think. I give it a B. I don't know if I think that like adding Fred VanVleet instead of him is a better move. He fits with the team. The team is super good. It's a chemistry-based team. So good. It's a B, maybe a B plus. There's not a whole lot to change here.
Yeah, I give it a B plus. I think you saw how much you needed him during the finals, and even during the playoffs. I'm pretty sure before the finals he led them in scoring or was just behind Jimmy Butler. So he's a necessity for that Heat team. All right, number 19, Jordan Clarkson, 4 years, $52 million with the Jazz. I'm going to give this a C minus. I don't get it. He's not worth it. We've seen him on competitive teams with the Cavaliers. The dude loves to chuck. The dude can't make like a big bucket to save his life. He's just average as hell. I remember when he was, drafted in the second round, he came out and everybody got excited because his rookie year was cool. But he's closer to, who's the guy who played for the Raptors and the Knicks? I can't remember, but you guys know who are listening. You know who I'm talking about. But he's closer to that guy than he is to his star, who's out of the league now. Black hair, Raptors, second round pick.
Mateen Cleaves?
Not even close.
Oh. Yeah, I'm going to give it a D plus. I don't care for this move at all. It's too much money. It's not that good of a player. I don't understand why a team as historically frugal as the Jazz would do a move like this. Especially when seriously, the Jazz are like a player away the Jazz need that cap space to try to figure out what unhappy star is going to join them in Utah. And they instead, they kind of blew their wad on Jordan Clarkson, I guess. Didn't he play for the Lakers?
Yeah, that's who he was drafted by.
Oh, you're talking about, okay. Yeah,
Landry
you're looking
Fields. Landry Fields is who I'm talking about, by the way. Former Raptors pick, who came in, had an awesome rookie season, and then just sucked forever. And Jordan Clarkson doesn't suck. Jordan Clarkson's a good player, but he's closer to that guy, I think, than he is a $52 million player.
Yeah. So Derek Jones Jr. to the Blazers.
C. I don't know what it does for anybody. Derek Jones Jr. isn't good. He's fun. He's not good.
He's fine. He's like a good kind of 4-ish kind of guy. I'm going to give this move a C+. I think the Blazers are always in need of wing depth, and while he's closer to a big than a wing, it's a good move for them. They really need a guy like this because their centers are
they not? Yeah, but he can't play center. I think you got it right the first time. I think having him at the wing makes more sense here. But they got Melo, they got Rodney Hood. Yeah, but he doesn't play like a 4. And they got Covington, who's gonna play the 4. He's gonna get 10 minutes a game. There's no room for him.
I think he'll get a little more than that. I think he's a pretty good player. I don't hate this move. I think he went to a team that needs him. They don't have any big backup wings. Who's gonna play? Who's gonna be their starting 4?
Robert Covington.
And who's gonna be the guy playing behind him?
Rodney Hood. No, Rodney Hood will probably be a 2-3 more so. Dude, but the dude had 8.5 points a game. Shoots 28% from 3. The only time he can score is in transition. I don't get it. I don't get what teams see in this guy. He keeps getting signed to good teams, and he's just not a good player. I guess he got better. If we're looking for something, he's better.
He's decent. I'm giving him a C+.
17. I'm giving this one an F. I'm just going to let you know. Marcus Morris stays with the Clippers 4 for 64. Marcus Morris had a good 2.5-month span where he was the only player worth anything on the Knicks. His brother is 8% worse than him and got a vet minimum contract. Good job, Clippers. You just gave money to a bum.
What did you give this?
I don't remember. A D. I'm going to say a D.
That's going to be great to go back and listen to, and here you go. I gave it an F, and then I give it a D.
No, I think I did give it an F, actually. I think maybe a D-.
Yeah, this is a D- for me. I agree with you. This is so much money to give to, a pretty league-average player, and I think that might be a little generous. And even if you include the fact that he might be considered the heart and soul of the locker room, that's still way too much money to give that guy. Who are you competing against? Who else is going to give him that money in this offseason?
You want to know my least favorite thing about Marcus Morris? Him and his brother come into the league, and they kind of get this fake tough guy tag, right? And it's also, but at the same time, it's hey, they're 20 years old. Let them have their time. Let them talk their shit. Let them have fun. But you get to see Markieff over the years, just kind of, and he still talks shit, and he still, will puff his chest out at you, but he's not obnoxious. Whereas Marcus Morris is stepping on people's turned ankles and just being a bitch always. And he's just still this, he just reminds me of a 20-year-old college. He reminds me of Grayson Allen. He's the dude who's going to go out and trip you if you talk some shit to him. And then he's going to talk shit to you, and if you tripped him, he would cry to the media. I don't know. I used to love Marcus Morris. There was a Pistons season where he was my favorite player on the team. I don't know how I've turned so sour on him. But that stepping on Luka's ankle was really...
Was that the Charlie Villanueva, Ben Gordon year?
No. Way after that. That was Reggie, Dre, pre-Blake.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
KCP. All right, number 16, Chris Dunn to the Hawks. I'm going to give this a B+. Great perimeter defender. Still young, still some untapped potential there. He's never going to be this offensive player he was drafted to hopefully turn into one day, but can do some things the Hawks desperately need. And most importantly, like I just said, defend the perimeter. So B+.
In 2019, he 35% from 3, and he didn't in 20. But if you can get back there, it's a huge signing. They didn't spend a whole lot of money on him. He's a good player. He's not going to be their lead guard. They're going to use him to stash Trae Young on whoever or when Trae Young is on the bench. And that's fine. Good deal. Good move. B+ for me as well. The Hawks have, I think, made a couple of pretty shrewd moves, which I'm sure
Awesome
we'll get to on this list here. Yeah. So I'm in on that. I like it.
Yeah. You're up first on 15. Jay Crowder to the Suns. I have 3 years, $29 million. Yikes. That's a lot.
Okay. So I'm gonna give this move a C-, maybe edging towards a C. Jake Crowder is just another guy where it's like he's just one of those wings who had a good year and gets hot from three sometimes and plays decent defense that I think is probably a little overrated, honestly, and is not in the prime of his career. And the Suns are going to pay him $10 million a year. So good job getting that money to Jay Crowder, but I don't think he factors in. I don't know if he's going to play a whole lot, honestly, if that team gets rolling.
He should, I still think. So the thing about Jay Crowder is he shows up in the playoffs, right? I hate websites that start playing ads through my headphones.
Dude, you got to work through it, man.
I always think it's you. I always think you're playing something and then whatever. So anyways, Jay Crowder, I think he'll play because he's good in the playoffs. He's a vet. He knows what he's doing. He can help lead a young team through those first couple rounds along with Chris Paul. The contract in year one isn't bad because you're over the cap anyways. You're fine. Like just, you had the salaries to make the Chris Paul trade happen. You weren't going to be able to sign anybody else with this money, essentially. It's years 2 and 3 where maybe you could really go take $10 million and get somebody useful, where they're still going to be close to the cap, where it's a little bit worse. But I'm going to give it a B-. I don't think it's horrible.
It's a little much for me. When he was playing in the Eastern Conference Finals and then the finals, every time I saw him, I kind of was like, boy, I really wish that ball was somewhere else. And every time he shoots a three that's like kind of semi-contested and it rims out, and you're just like, that can't be the best option for them right now. So, but I mean, certainly worse players have gotten $10 million. Contavious Caldwell-Pope staying with the Lakers.
Destroy you right here. Go ahead, say your dumb shit you're about to say.
I gotta give it a C-, man. He's good in the playoffs, sure. He's had some stretches with the Pistons, okay. But for basically a year and a half, he was a bench player. He couldn't crack the lineup. He was getting played over by Svi Mikhailiuk, and then they dealt him. I don't, and it's not that I think that like KCP is a bum or a bad
Svi was
player.
never playing more minutes than KCP.
There was like a 6-month period where KCP was the 11th guy on that Lakers team.
KCP played 25 minutes a game last two years ago for the Lakers, 33 the year before that, and 25 this year. He shot 38.5% from three this year. He's a really, really good on-ball defender. He plays super well off of Bron. He doesn't need the ball in his hands constantly. He works his ass off on the floor. And again, something that NBA fans need to understand more, they were over the salary cap anyways. You signed him with bird rights. You don't lose anything signing this guy. If you lose him, you don't get to fill that spot with a player with this contract. Or even half of it, or even a third of it. But if you pay him, you get that guy.
Paid on this contract, clutch. This is a clutch contract.
Why? How? We just saw the guy be the third best player on a finals team. I know he's not.
His points per game have gone down every year for the last 5 years.
You got to know your role. He's a great role player.
Okay, so do great role players get paid 3 years, $40 million?
Yes. Yes.
No. Who?
Yes, they do. What are you talking about? That's the NBA.
I just complained about Jay Crowder making $10 million. I think Jay Crowder's about as good a player as
he's definitely not. Not with a team like the Lakers. There's nothing that says a great role player can't get $12, $13 million a year in the NBA where the stars are getting 45. That's how it works.
I get what you're saying about the bird rights, and you're right about that because you kind of get into like the nitty gritty of the salary cap stuff. But again, who else was paying him that much? Who were they competing against to give him that contract?
I'm guessing there was at least 3, 4, 5 teams that would have came super close.
No,
super close
way.
You're insane. Who? Any team that wants a good shooting guard either to fill out their starting lineup or to be
offseason
man
can afford to pay
39% from three.
Who's got $12 million to spend on their backup
You
shooting
can
guard?
make $12 million happen with exceptions or tiny little bad contract trades very easily. And there was 8 teams with over, I think, $15 million. Like, it's not like everybody just ran dry. It's just that there was nobody to spend the money on. Tristan Thompson to the Celtics. All right, this is tough. Is Tristan Thompson as good as he used to be? Not really, but he's not much worse. Do the Celtics need a guy like Tristan Thompson? Fuck yeah, they do. B+, not because Tristan Thompson's a killer, not because Tristan Thompson's a beast, but because the Celtics desperately need a guy like Tristan Thompson. I think moving Tice to the bench is really important for them. He's a good player, like he is. He's a good player, but first of all, he gets no respect from the officials. They just need, they need him to be playing 20 minutes instead of 33.
I totally agree with all that. I'm new to B+. He might be a little better than we think. He's been toiling away on some pretty bad teams for a few years. He might come into the Celtics team and be really solid. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And they didn't pay him a ton of money, but they paid him, starter money. So
for sure.
What's next?
Wesley Matthews. Love it.
This is a good move.
A-. You replace Danny Green for cheaper. Better on-ball defender. A little bit worse team defender. But overall, I mean, to go with the other moves they made, just absolute money. Great signing. Takes a lot of pressure off of LeBron, too. We saw in the playoffs, LeBron had to do a ton of big-time perimeter defense, and I think Wesley Matthews helps out with that because he can guard 1 through 3, 3.5, really. So,
yeah, I agree with all of that. The Lakers did a really good job making their team a little younger and a little cheaper. And this is, I think, the best example of that, replacing whoever with him. So, A- for me as well. Good job, Lakers.
We're going to kind of skip over 11 because I think they're all A+. Rookie Max Steals, the De'Aaron Foxes, the Brandon Ingrams, the Jason Tatums, those guys. A+ to all of them. You got to re-sign them. Number 10, Jeremy Grant to your Detroit Pistons. Parker, what you got on this one?
This is a tough one to grade without involving my own emotions in it. So I'm going to try really hard and say it's a B-.
That's where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at.
He's going to have to prove it.
Yeah, the thing that brings he's a B+ player. But the thing about the contract is there's no upside to it. If he plays well, he'll play as that contract. I very much doubt that he's going to play better than a $60 million or $20 million a year contract. So I'm going to say B-. I still like the signing. I'm not in love with it. I think they could have went without making this signing, and everything would have been fine.
I really want to see how this works in practice as opposed to theory. Because the theory is there, but it's a little strange. We're doing a little too many towers, too much towers. But, the NBA is now kind of randomly getting a little bit bigger, so it might work out okay. And Jeremy Grant's, like you said, a B+ player. So, interesting deal. B- for me, B- for you. Could be a B+ at the end of the year. Who knows?
Speaking of practice, just real quick, did you hear the words out of Detroit Pistons practice today?
I don't know what you're going to say, so no.
Killian Hayes, as of right now, is the starting point guard, and everybody, including Wayne Ellington, so coaches through players were just yeah, this dude's different. He's just so advanced.
Was that the word? Different?
Different and advanced. He was throwing professional lobs to Plumlee. Him and Plumlee in the pick and roll, I guess, was awesome. But I guess he's ready, bro. He's day one starter.
He's basically been a professional athlete since he was 15.
Yeah, which, by the way, you heard, if you want to know where you heard it first, you heard day one starter here first, because I've been saying it, and Parker's been saying it for, I don't know, a year.
Before the draft. Before lockdown. We were in on Killian Hayes. We gotta just let everybody know. Okay.
Yeah.
Joe Harris to the Nets.
I guess a B-. The contract is a lot. There's a lot of players who can shoot crazy numbers from three. Not as good as Joe Harris, but that can do 80% of what he does. It's also one of those contract things where you wouldn't have been able to get anybody else with the money. But I feel like it could prohibit you from making some trades in the future. So I'm going to say B- because I'm not sold on it all the way.
I'm going to say C. It is a completely untradeable contract for 2 years. You're stuck with him. And I think that the Nets aren't going to want to be stuck with that much money on their cap. I think they're going to need probably to make a few changes if they don't win the title this year. And this is going to make it impossible for them to do it without trading away draft assets, which, I mean, hey, they're probably going to end up doing no matter what anyway because it's a win-now team. But this doesn't give you the flexibility. And like you said, Joe Harris is like a good starter. Like, he's a good player. If the Pistons had signed this contract, I kind of would have been like, I don't know. It doesn't really fit the timeline, but okay. So it's a C for this team for me.
Yeah. Number 8. Davis Bertans staying with the Wizards 5 for 80. We've both gone back and forth on this.
Yeah,
one.
We've had some trouble with it.
I want to hear you first because I don't know.
So I'm gonna give it a C minus, and I've really seriously put some thought into this. And the reason why is that the structure of the contract is that it's $13 million in year one, basically scaling up on the back end to $19 million over 5 years. And if you're gonna pay Davis Bertans $13 million in year one and then more later, it's because you need to be able to spend that money now to add your extra player. And they didn't really do that. They traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook, and they got under the cap. But this is it for them going forward. They have put their flag in the sand and said, here's where we are now. And I'm not sure if that's going to be good enough. I don't know if you can trade this contract. I don't know if I think that he can outperform it. I mean, Bertans is a really good player. And I'll tell you this, when I thought it was 4 for 80, I couldn't believe it. When I figured out it was 5, I felt better about it, but I don't think that this is like a winning team contract.
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's really just how these teams are looking at it. Somebody would have found the money to give him because he shoots over 42% from 3 on almost 10 attempts a game.
Yeah, he's a sniper.
And the Wizards are stuck for 2 to 3 years with their top contracts. They use up almost all their salary on it. You weren't going to be able to add another guy. And I know I've said that for half this list, but that's what is going through these teams' minds. He's a damn good player who does a lot for a team, especially a team with somebody like Russ. I think he's a really good fit alongside Russ because Russ it's the opposite of Steph Curry gravity, but he does have some gravity when going to the rim. So I think he could be an important part of this team. I think what this deal does is it makes him from an 8 seed Russ and Beal to a 6 seed with Russ and Beal. I think they could be up to that good this year. Number 7, Rondo to the Hawks.
I don't really care for this that much. They had to overpay to get him. They had to really overpay to get him. You're basically going to end up paying him $1 million for every game that he's worth. He plays well in. And that's too much money. I very much see a world where by the time the playoffs roll around, Chris Dunn is already taken all of his minutes. Do you see that world?
I mean, it's possible, but what you're doing is you're paying for playoff Rondo, and you're a team that's not ready to compete for titles. So it's not much to me at all. It's a deep D plus. I think
I have a D plus too,
and then I think it's a D plus for Rondo too. I just don't get it for Rondo. I get it's cool. You get to go be the Vince Carter for this Hawks team, but pass.
You get a lot of money out of it.
Yeah, that's true. Number 6, Fred VanVleet staying with the Raptors, 4 years, $85 million. That's your boy. Let's hear your take.
It's a C for me. C plus maybe. It's a slight overpay. I know that the Raptors have to do that, and I'm guessing that when they sign them to this contract, they believe that there's more room to grow in Fred VanVleet. How much there really truly is I'm a little skeptical of that as well. I think that he is one of the only players in the NBA who slots very comfortably into that Davis Bertans price range of 5 for 80, and that's they didn't pay him that, and that's what I think a really good contract for him would look like. So he's a super good player, and I've been supportive of him. I wanted him on the Pistons, but not for this price.
Couldn't agree more. Number 5, Serge Ibaka to the Clippers, A plus. not only an A plus just because like he's a really good player and he's coming off maybe his best offensive year of his entire career, but because the Clippers fucking needed to get him. The Clippers could not lose out on him after losing Trez, and they are probably going to have to trade Lou Will because he sucks. Oh, and hey, surprise, surprise. Another thing I was fucking right on. Patrick Beverley is trash on defense too, by the way, in case you didn't know. He's not even good at that. They needed Serge Ibaka. They needed him bad. They couldn't do anything down low in the playoffs this year, and now they're going to have somebody who, sure, he's not blocking 3 shots like he used to, not blocking 2 or even 1 a game anymore. But he at least is a big body down there. He's still athletic, and he can still get it done. I give it an A+.
He's a different player than he used to be for sure. He's kind of got old man game now. I think he's coming out of, like, defensively one of the best systems in the NBA, and offensively a very, very tight know your role kind of deal. And I don't see any way where he's the exact same player that he was last year. That said, this is still the best signing for the Clippers. They very much needed it. I give it an A-. A- for me. I think we're gonna kind of go, oh, Serge Ibaka, yeah, maybe he is like, how old is he? 33? There's going to be a few moments like that this year, but otherwise it's worth it. They didn't spend a whole lot of money for him, so
yeah. I'm going back-to-back A pluses. No A pluses until number 5, and now number 4 is also getting an A plus. Christian Wood to the Rockets, 3 for 41. John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Christian Wood, James Harden. That's a better starting 5 than whoever the 5th person is. Better starting 5 than they had last year.
Depends on what Boogie Cousins look like a little bit to me.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
This is just a regular old A for me. I very much wish more than anything that the Pistons had been able to sign him to this contract. I think that like we would actually be a legitimate team this year and also going forward. And it's a real shame that they couldn't get a contract done. I would have much rather paid Christian Wood this money than really any of the free agent signings we made. It didn't work out, and that makes me very sad. But Christian Wood's going to be awesome. He's going to be so good with James Harden. It's gonna be the only good thing, assuming James Harden stays there, I guess. But it's gonna
sounds
be
like he is.
Didn't he
At
not
least
show up
for the first part of the season? Did he
not show up today?
They're not trading him. They're not trading him yet.
I don't know if we'll have time, but we really probably should talk about what we think is going to happen to James Harden.
Hey, just so everybody knows, next week we're doing a whole NBA preview. What's it called, Parker?
I said it once when I came up with the name, and I keep not remembering what it was. The Predictys, yes, that's what Thank you. Yeah, next week we're gonna do a whole thing. Predictys.
We'll probably talk about that. So listen. Number 3, Gallinari to the Hawks. Give me yours.
3 years, $61 million. Goes to the Hawks. Maybe plays a similar position to a couple guys they already got. This is going to be a B- from me. Maybe a C+, kind of right in that 79.5%, 80% range. It's not a terrible contract. Gallo has trouble staying on the court. But if he does stay on the court and the Hawks put all of those pieces together, they're going to be really, really fucking good this year.
Yeah, Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Gallinari, Collins, and Capella. Super ultra modern starting 5. I love it. I'm giving it a B+. I think it's awesome. You know you're not going to win with Trae Young in this Hawks team in the next 3 years. So get him to the playoffs. Get him used to winning. That's you got to take that step first. So, make that happen. And then you're in Atlanta. You have a guy who might compete for MVPs one day. Get people with their eyes on the Hawks. So then Trae Young in 3 years can start walking into All-Star game locker rooms and going, hey, when you coming over? When you're going to come hang out in Atlanta? When are you going to come hang out with Quavo with me? Come on, we got the best strip clubs. It's, you know what I'm saying? Lou Will sneaks out of Bubbles to go to our strip clubs and get some wings. So we got everything kind of in one place. Lou Will, strippers, chicken wings. The bomb-ass chicken wings.
What was your grade? B+?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that there's just a pretty considerable amount of risk here. But it's not a huge long contract, and it's $20 million a year for a guy who's probably worth $20 million a year. So, B-.
Number 2, my third A+ of the day, Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers. Why am I giving it a B+? Because the straight fucking savagery that it was, making the Clippers look like a bunch of fools. The funniest moment of the offseason, easily. Everybody, I think, just kind of looked at their phone. They went, what? Like, I thought this guy hated them. I thought they hated him. But it doesn't matter. That's what rings get you. Rings get you people being like, hey, can I come over there? We saw Kevin Durant do it. I think it's okay for Montrezl Harrell to do it. A+, loved every bit of it.
This is my only A+ that I'm giving out. This deal is awesome. Harrell has some things that he has trouble with, but who's going to help him out with those things is Anthony Davis.
Yes.
He's going to do a plenty fine job. I'm assuming their 5 is. What's the Lakers top 7 right now? Give me the Lakers top
Schroeder, 7. KCP, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Wesley Matthews.
Man,
it's way better than last year.
Good.
It's so much better than last year.
Yeah. That's a team to me that could compete with those all-time Warriors teams.
Boy, maybe. Maybe.
The depth is there.
Yes, it's the deepest team LeBron's ever had.
Yeah.
Ever. And then number 1, my first F of the day, Gordon Hayward to the Hornets. You're going to be paying Hayward and Rozier $49 million for the next few years. It cost you $70 million a year the next 2 years to get Hayward each of the next 2 years. So 140 total because of luxury tax and getting rid of the team contract. It's the worst contract I may have ever seen anybody sign. And I'm not exaggerating.
No, Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng and all of those are worse than this.
They didn't cost the team $80 million. And a lot of that's against the cap.
Let me try to see if I can convince you that this deal is a D. Because I don't see any world where it can be a good deal, but I do see a universe where it's not a catastrophe.
Try your best.
So here's what needs to happen for this deal to be not a fireable offense. Gordon Hayward finally breaks through some of the injury yips that he had, and that's what it kind of felt like that was what he had, was injury yips, where he came back from injury and was playing like he was when am I going to get hurt next? When am I going to get hurt next? Not really looking like Gordon Hayward, and then he would get injured, and then that would increase the injury yips, creating a self-sustaining circle of injury yips. And that stops happening. You hit big time on LaMelo Ball, and it turns out that he is 6'6" Magic Johnson, and he is all sorts of crazy things that he can do. And then, you've got 2 players, and you can potentially look around and see if you can add a third guy or find a third guy in a trade. And then you're looking at kind of an interesting team. You're looking at maybe a 4 or a 5 seed. And to be an F, it has to be a legendarily bad contract. It has to almost be trading for Blake Griffin if you're Stan Van Gundy. And I think that this is just a shade above this.
Why?
Why what?
Why is it better than trading for Blake Griffin, who went out?
I think they're pretty similar.
The following year and averaged 25 and 10 and led you to the playoffs.
Well, you know why we. Okay, well now we're gonna have to go back into the reason why the Blake Griffin trade happened, and it was.
Stan Van Gundy it wasn't a great trade, right? But it's not as bad as this contract.
It's a D.
You still got a good player, and you still you weren't going anywhere. You'd be in the same spot right now, except you wouldn't have Blake Griffin's contract, which would be nice. But other than that, the last 2 years would have pretty much went the same, except you would have been a tiny bit worse.
I think almost all of that logic applies to this contract. And all I think that gets you is a D.
Blake Griffin is a guy who can go out and score 50 points against Joel Embiid. Gordon Hayward is a guy who's going to go out and get you 11 points 3 times a year now. It's really bad. That was an exaggeration.
If you're Charlotte, you're banking on that being in the past and getting back to a more traditional Gordon Hayward look. It's a D. It's a D for me.
F-.
You give him a G?
Yes.
A G for the league that he's going to be playing in next year?
Yes. All right. Well, that is pretty much it for this week, everybody. But what you can do, get excited. When this show airs, I think we'll be 3 days away from your first Pistons preseason game on Fox Sports Detroit, where you can watch Killian Hayes and Sekou Doumbouya and possibly Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose and Sadiq Bey and Svi Mikhailiuk and Isaiah Stewart, who got compared to prime Kenneth Faried today by Dwayne Casey.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
That would be huge.
But yeah, so next week, we're probably going to talk a little bit about that. But then we have our favorite thing, my favorite thing. It's something I've been looking forward to for months. The NBA Predictys with awards like Best Team that isn't the Lakers award, the 76ers award, the Earl Watson award, and many more. So come on down to the first annual NBA Predictys Awards.
So we should mention how we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do probably a 2-hour recording. The podcast will be 2 hours. It might be longer than that. I said probably 2 hours because it might end up being 2.5 hours. It's gonna be long. We're gonna do a bunch of awards, and then we'll kind of cut it down, and we'll do this version, which is like an hour, or maybe an hour.
This version, he means 15. The video pod. If you're watching,
video pod,
YouTube or Facebook,
mediums, yeah. Yes. So we'll put some of the best stuff up on the video stream, but if you want to go real deep, we'll put the whole thing up. It'll be fun.
It'll be very fun. So everybody tune in next week for the NBA Predictys.
What was this?
I think we're good.
Did you do a swim move?
It's just like a cut. I just didn't want to be like.
Okay, thanks.
Or like.